go. Okay. Can everybody hear me all right? I want to make sure the audio levels are okay. I know sometimes it can be difficult to hear me, so but I will leave it like this. And you know what I'll do is I'll go ahead and do that, and I will go on my phone to check my live stream. View channel. There we go. All right, so who do we got here? We got Five Caps Films, Mark, Sir Topham Hat. Is this a new update? No, it's not. Hello, Evan. Hello, did I say Mark already? Lachlan, how's it going? Lachlan says he's leaving soon. Okay. Yeah, and hello to everybody coming in. This is not a update to the game. I'm just playing the game, you know, because I know people really like this game and they would play it themselves if they could, but they don't have it. So, yeah. Now, there's something up with my computer today. The graphics are a bit laggy, which isn't normal. Usually it's much smoother than this. So we're just gonna have to play this by ear. I brought down the graphic settings a bit to try to make it go faster. Oh, see, that's interesting. Never mind, because now it's back to normal. So this is C deck. So then why was it like that on B deck? See, now it's all laggy again. There's something about B deck that it just doesn't like. But if I go down to C deck, then it's not laggy. Look at that. Smooth as butter. That was strange. We'll stop here in front of the purser's desk. I'll make frequent stops like this so you guys can just enjoy the view. Okay, Evan says, I hear you. Hello, Rena. Five Caps says, I see sheer, or is that the camera angle? It's probably just the camera angle because there's only one spot on the whole... Well, actually, I think there's two spots. Two spots in this whole game where there's actual sheer. Everywhere else on the ship, there's no sheer because it was just impossible for them to do it. But yeah. Why don't we go into... See, now it's laggy again. I think when we go into certain places... See, it's not laggy in this room. And you think it would be laggy in this room because this room has a lot of detail. But the hallway is more laggy than this. That's strange. Yeah, one of the most beautiful rooms on the whole ship. For those of you who are just tuning in, you've never seen my channel before or something, you know, I'm going to put this fully on my ear. And you've never seen my channel before or something, do not expect me to be able to talk about Titanic in this video. I'm just exploring the game. I know that my channel is called Alex the Historian, but I actually am not a Titanic historian. I don't know that much about it aside from, you know, the basics. I've watched a couple of videos about it, but I mean, really, I'm not at all a Titanic expert. I've had so many people come to these live streams and complain like, oh, you always talk about the Queen Mary. It's like, yes, because it's the only ship I really have any kind of expertise in at all is the Queen Mary. And it's the one thing I can compare things to. You know, so I say multiple times in these live streams, that was really weird. I say multiple times in these live streams, like, don't expect me to make this into like a history lesson about the Titanic. I just don't have that kind of knowledge. I'm just a fan who likes to roam around this game and have fun. And I'll repeat that message later in the live stream because I know, again, people watch my live streams on this and they complain so much like, oh, you don't know anything and you don't talk about it. It's like, no, because I don't know. I'm just having fun. So, Yeah, it's weird. It gets laggy in certain places, but then it gets smooth as butter in other places. It's really strange. Ozzy says, your sound sounds awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, I actually recently redid the settings on my microphone. I used to have settings a long time ago that made my voice sound pretty good. But then, like, I don't know, for some reason the app just forgot all of my settings for the microphone. And then I had to just go with whatever was coming straight out of the microphone. And for the longest time, that was kind of terrible quality sound, because if I clicked on my mouse or typed on my keyboard, it sounded like I was like throwing a hammer against stuff. It was really bad. So the other day I was fidgeting around with the settings on my microphone and did them very nice. And now, like, you can't even hear that there is a fan going in the background. Yeah, there's like, it's kind of cool. I was able to do that, so I'm proud of myself because I'm not very tech savvy. So, yeah, got ourselves a bathroom and a mirror and a sink. Weather today is okay. The sun has come out, which I'm not a big fan of the sun. But, you know, we just recently had this crazy amount of rain over the last 10 days. I think it rained for like 10 days straight. And I loved it. I loved it so much. But now, oh, see, look, very laggy in here in this. And it's in the hallway of all places. And it never used to be like this. I didn't do anything with this game. I didn't change the settings, aside from having to lower the settings today because of this problem. But I didn't do anything different today, or at all. See, now it's smooth as butter again as I go into this room. So strange. 5cap says, can you go to the satinwood suite on B deck? Try to remember what suite that is. I remember there being, yeah, I remember there being a satinwood suite because that was one of my favorite suites because of the satinwood. So here we go up the grand staircase. I can't wait for them to come out with like the actual Titanic Honor and Glory game. Because this is a demo, but it's not even, there's the suite. It's not even a demo of the finished game. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, usually when a demo comes out, it's a piece of the game that they're working on. This isn't. They've abandoned this. They're going a much more detailed route, and they're rebuilding everything from the ground up. And so this isn't even, you know, this isn't even a demo of what they're making. This is a demo of an abandoned project. So it's actually interesting. What they're making is going to be a lot better than this, which is hard to imagine because you look at this and you're like, dude, like, this is some high quality stuff, you know? It's great. And you know what? There's music playing in the background, which is not something I noticed before. I had the music up. The volume was up earlier. So before I go into the satinwood room, this is the private promenade of this suite, which was, you know, the inspiration of it was taken to make Rose's suite. In fact, a lot of the rooms that we were just in, the Strauss suite up on the deck above, including this suite and this adjoining room, were used in the movie Titanic to create Rose's suite. It was a combination of all these designs. But man, this room is beautiful. You know, I'm a big fan of wood veneer, like exotic wood veneers, ever since I became a fan of the Queen Mary. And so uh I've come to appreciate the different grains of wood, and satinwood. And so I would say my two favorites, absolute favorites, satinwood and quilted maple. I think quilted maple is my favorite, but satinwood is right next to that because it's absolutely beautiful. And what's crazy is, as nice as this suite looks, when you get up close to the paneling, it doesn't look, like real satinwood. But if you turn around and you look at the room as a whole, it looks like satinwood. It looks like real satinwood. So when you get really close, it's the details start to, not work so well. But because there's a quality about satinwood and quilted maple, is that it has this weird, like, three-dimensional look to it. Almost like the wood is wavy and warped, and it looks beautiful. It looks like a sheet of satin, which is why they call it satinwood. What was I gonna say? And the thing about it is that it looks wavy, but it doesn't feel wavy because that's just the way the grain is. Beautiful room. Oh, Aaron, you haven't seen this before? Oh, interesting. Oh, is it Aaron's birthday today? Oh, happy birthday, Aaron. Mr. Xbox says, "What's up? What are you playing?" This is a demo called Titanic Honor and Glory Demo 401. And it's free to people. I believe I have a link in the description below for how you can get this demo. Is it free? Yeah, it's free. Yeah, it's free. I had to think about that for a second. I'm like, is it free? But yes, it is free, and you can get it on their website. And you can explore about 50% of Titanic. Yeah. Sorry, I can't multitask, so when I'm like running around the ship, I can't think in my head like what I want to say. Well, this is nice. The ceiling in this room is definitely different than the other rooms. That's what's kind of cool about these ocean liners, is that the suites and the special rooms, they had individual interior design and architectural styles, which is just really neat. It's not every room is the exact same style. I suppose it's the same way with cruise ships today, where like every suite is a different style. But well, you know what, actually I feel like it's really only companies like Cunard that still do that, where there's, I don't know, you know what, I don't know. I don't know anything about cruise ships and stuff like that, but sometimes I feel like I know what I'm talking about, and then I have to take a moment and be like, no, Alex, you don't know what you're talking about. This is an interesting room because I learned something about it from the people that made this game. They were watching me play, and I saw these things on the walls. They're like upside down T's or something, and I remember just going like, what in the world is that? Because I thought it was a mistake at first, but then there's another one over here, and they're in various rooms and stuff. And so what he was able to tell me, can I crouch? There we go. What he was able to tell me is that this lamp, they had lamps in these rooms that were gyroscopic. So, well, at least gyroscopic in a way. But they were designed so if the ship was swaying or or listing from side to side, rolling, whatever you call it. I'm sorry, I'm trying to remember to use the right words. The ship was rolling from side to side. These lamps would stay upright. You know, they wouldn't just like tilt off to the side. And so these lamps had a base that was designed so they could attach to these hooks on the walls, and then you could have the lamp right over your bed. So if you're laying down and reading something, you could do that. And then, you know, and the lamp was, they called it a portable lamp, even though it's you know, it's obviously got a wire, but that's what was portable back then, was a corded lamp. So pretty neat little detail. And there's another one here too, a corded lamp that is gyroscopic, or at least to a certain degree. So Mr. Xbox says, okay, Mr. Xbox, I'm going to answer your question because I just read it, but please understand, everybody, please understand, I cannot get to every single question because, as you can see, there's a lot of people here. They're asking everything. They want to know things. They want to talk to me, but I'm also doing a live stream. I have to show you guys stuff. So just keep in mind, everybody, that I may not get to everybody's questions, but I try to. And asking multiple times repeatedly, it's not very productive or kind to do that. So, but I was about to get to some questions, so I looked down and I saw it. Do you play Fortnite? No, I don't. I actually don't really play games. I play simulators on occasion, like Titanic Demo 401. I have a train simulator. I also have Planet Coaster. So that's about it, but I don't even play those. I think I get to those like maybe once a month. Like this Demo 401, the last time I played it was, I think, in July. So I really don't play like games and stuff. I'm actually a very, very busy person. So I don't even have time for anything. But even then, I think I'm the kind of person that would rather pick up a book and read than to play a game. But these simulators, like this Titanic one, they have a special place in my heart that I will, you know, turn the game on once in a while and play it, because it is interesting. So Mr. Xbox, to answer your question again, no, I don't play Roblox. I don't play anything. The only thing I play is Demo 401, maybe Planet Coaster, and I have a railroad simulator that I play. That's about it. That's the only thing. This is a nice room. I mean, I guess you would call that marquetry panels. I think it's 3 different shades of oak. It's hard to tell because it is a game, so sometimes, even though these are very accurate textures, I can't quite tell what kind of wood it is. Sheridan says, I love how lifelike and realistic this program is to the real Titanic. I love how Titanic was built with electricity and indoor plumbing similar to the Savoy. Am I reading that correctly? To the Savoy at the beginning of the 20th century. Oh, interesting. I don't know what the Savoy is. Or do I? I don't know. Maybe I'm just not good at multitasking. Going from like playing a game and then reading a comment and then trying to process what I just read. I'm so terrible at multitasking. It's also partly why I don't drive, because I can't multitask, and I'm everyone's worst nightmare on the road. So this is Cafe Parisian. So it's designed to look like a little French patio garden cafe. And this is where they sold tea, coffee, and various a la carte dishes. Five Caps Film says, would you consider doing a video about the El Camino Real? I feel you would find it interesting. I know about the El Camino Real, but I don't find it that interesting. That's actually kind of my problem, honestly. That's a problem I have, is that I want to make all kinds of content, but there's certain content that I want to make. And so, like, the problem is that the content I want to make, the history I want to talk about, is not necessarily stuff people really want to hear. So it's like, there's times where I feel so discouraged because I make a video and then it gets almost no views because nobody's really interested in that subject like I am. And so they don't click on it. But then I get people who suggest things for me who are like, oh, you should do this. And I'm like, that doesn't sound interesting to me. And I don't make a video about it, but it just very well might be something that a bunch of people are interested in, but I'm not. I think I'm very picky when it comes to history. It has to be like, often like, there has to be a story to it that really jumps off the page and just, you know, grabs hold of me, you know, like, I think one of the things that really drew me to the Queen Mary, because for many, many years, I would visit the Queen Mary or see the Queen Mary in passing, and I never had any kind of interest in it. I even took tours of the ship multiple times growing up, and I knew some basics about the Queen Mary, but it didn't interest me. And I think one day, you know, it was definitely when I visited in January of 2020 that really got me interested. But in doing research after that visit, I was kind of like, okay, well, let's see what kind of history I can talk about with this ship, because, you know, I know the basics. You know, the ship was in World War II and it transported troops, and, you know, and it was an ocean liner and all that kind of stuff. But I think it was the individual stories, like the story of Ludwig Katzenstein and his family, and how, you know, they were stopped at the German border by the Gestapo, and they had to telegraph the captain of the Queen Mary, Robert Irving, and ask him to hold the ship for them because they were detained at the border. And Captain Irving held the ship for them, and they survived. They lived because of that. Ludwig said that if Captain Irving hadn't held the ship for 6 hours, that they would have been sent back to Germany and would have been slaughtered. And so it's little stories like that, or like how one time there was a tugboat strike. So all the tugboat workers in New York were on strike. The Queen Mary was coming in to dock, and there were no tugboats to bring her in, and that made things extra difficult. And so Captain Irving, he basically was able to dock the Queen Mary at her pier without any tugboats, just using the warping machinery and stuff, which, you know, may not sound very impressive because it's like, well, that's what it's for, you know, but it is really, really impressive. So it's little things like that, or like the Queen Mary, you know, being struck by a 92-foot rogue wave and then not capsizing. and learning like the reasons why the ship didn't capsize and stuff. It's like, it was really interesting. So, so yeah, I think stories, they really have to jump off the page at me to really make me want to make a video. King of Battleships. You ask me that quite often, actually. I mean, you haven't been on my live streams for a little bit, so welcome back. But you ask me that quite a bit about what my thoughts on the big U is. I don't. All right, I guess I'll answer it again. It's unfortunate, but it was inevitable, you know. I hate to just summarize it like that, but folks, I feel like on every live stream I answer that question. And so I don't know. I've been asked it 100 times and I don't really have anything new to say. It is unfortunate. I mean, I'm not a fan of the SS United States. But I know that a lot of people are ocean liner fans and they do love the SS United States. And so, you know, it's really sad for them because they wanted much more for the ship. But the thing is that it was inevitable. I mean, I had people for like the past year telling me, oh, you should make a video about the SS United States to save it. And I'm like, there's no video I could possibly make to save that ship. You know, because they were inspired because my videos about the Queen Mary had really helped the Queen Mary during the pandemic when everything seemed lost and everything seemed like the ship was, you know, heading for the breaker's hammer. My videos really helped promote the ship and really brought a new view of the ship to a larger amount of people on YouTube. And so they saw that and they were like, oh, you could do that for the SS United States. But there was no video I could do that could save that ship. Because all the interiors were removed. There was nothing left, nothing original except her engines. That was it. And it would have cost a massive fortune to restore and reconstruct the ship. There was really, you know, there was nothing that I could say or do that would cause enough interest for someone to, you know, to do that for the ship. You know, that's speaking from a, you know, former business owner. You know, from a business standpoint, there is no money to be made on the SS United States. It would have always been a loss. So I just didn't see it happening. I had no faith in the SS United States being able to be preserved or restored or whatever you want to call it. I didn't see it happening. Mr. Xbox says, how old are you? I am 32 years old. Yeah, I'm constantly reminded how I'm getting older. I don't think I'm bothered by getting older the way it bothers people like my sister, for instance. Like, every time she's reminded, you know, that she's in her mid-30s, she just freaks out. She's like, oh my God, I'm getting old. And, you know, for me, it's not like that, but it does make me a bit, I don't know, a bit bummed because in my brain, I feel like I'm still in my early 20s. You know, I don't, when my nephew was born, I remember thinking like, it's so crazy because I don't feel like, you know, it didn't feel like my sister was old enough to have a kid, you know, even though she's in her mid 30s, you know, and then like for me being an uncle, I didn't feel old enough to be an uncle. So it was just weird, you know. But I have to remind myself, I'm like, you know, like I am in my early 30s and I'm not a teenager anymore. I'm not in my 20s anymore, and yeah. So there's the stern of Titanic. And then if I turn this way, you can see the fourth funnel. Let's see if we can go up there. Evan says, can we see the forward grand staircase? Sure. King of Battleship says, when is the next Queen Mary repair update? I'm thinking December, because I think I'll do a year recap of like all the stuff that happened this year plus the most recent updates. And the reason why is that I'd like to do them more often. Really, I would love to do them every month. But the problem is that there's not enough stuff happening around the Queen Mary to make it a monthly thing. It's just really not that, you know, like people would just not think it's that interesting. Here's the aft grand staircase. So let's go to the forward grand staircase. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah. No, I forgot what I was gonna say. What was the question? Oh, Queen Mary repair update. So I'm thinking next month and just doing like a year-long recap. And it's probably going to be that from now on, there's going to be like only 2 updates a year. Like I said, I'd like to do more, but they really just don't do a lot around the Queen Mary to, well, at least not, wait, I wanted to go all the way to the bottom to look up. They don't do enough for me to do monthly recaps. So now we're on D deck where the restaurant is. Turning around to go down to E deck. And when you get down here, you can stand here at the bottom of the staircase and look up. And that's what you see. Sarah says, once I hit 30, I feel I can't read from this distance. Once I hit 38, I feel like time really sped up. Just turned 38. Not sure how that happened. That happened to me when I turned 20. When I turned 20, time just really sped up. And, you know, all of a sudden it's like, I don't know, now I'm like 32 and I'm like, where did the 12 years go, you know? Really strange, but I was having a conversation with my dad the other day about how it seems like every year the year goes by faster, because this year I'm like it's already December. Like it doesn't feel like, you know, like it was weird. It was really, really weird. Mark says, I'll be 49. That's huge for me. I had a rough beginning in my 30s. Rena says, yeah, time just flew once I was done with school and started working. Then it's really flying now that I'm a parent. Yeah. Ryan says, I'm 45. I'm really feeling the health changes, but I try to keep young at heart and mindset. Wait, a young at heart mindset. The world is what you make of it. Yeah, that's something I believe too. The world is what you make of it. Matthew says, would you consider covering the sinking of the SS United States when the time comes? Apologize for all the yawning, but I haven't had my coffee this morning. Would I consider covering the SS United States when... I don't know. I really don't think so, because I'm going to be like the one guy there who really has nothing to say about it. You know, people are going to expect me to say things. They're going to expect me to give opinions, answer questions, and I can't. I don't know how. And it's kind of the same thing when the submersible, well, you know what happened with that. I can't say certain words on YouTube because then YouTube will be like, oh, you're talking about subjects that are not accurate to talk about. It's like weird things with YouTube. But like with the submersible, like I didn't cover that at all because for one thing, I was finding things out as people were finding them out. So it's not like I had any kind of extra insight. I also don't know how submersibles work. So there's nothing I could say about it. And as well as the fact that, of course, that being a tragedy, I didn't want to capitalize off of it. That was something I just didn't want to do. I think there were a lot of YouTube channels, just a lot of YouTube channels that were really making some good money off of that tragedy. And the whole time I'm thinking, I can't do that to people. That's not who I am. But I mean, SS United States, that's not a human tragedy. That's a ship tragedy. But nevertheless, I don't know much about it. And so me going online and talking about it would come off as insincere. I'm a bit lost because I think I was looking for something, and then what was I looking for? Well, I think I was just trying to get to this spot actually, to show you guys a view of the staircase, and it's a bit laggy here. Gonna try to do a wide angle. There we go. All right. Back to some questions. Dark Moon says, isn't the United States too far gone to even attempt to do a museum ship from it? Yeah, it really is. It very much is. Daniel says, loving the New Orleans vlog series. It's almost been a year since my first trip to New Orleans. Sad I didn't get to see the everybody gets mad at me because I mispronounce it all the time. But I can't pronounce it the way people want me to pronounce it. The Natchez, that's how I pronounce it. Sad I didn't get to see the Natchez steamboat. That means I shall return. Yeah, that was really fun. That was one of the biggest highlights of the whole trip, was riding the Natchez, up and down the Mississippi. I'd do that again in a heartbeat. The ticket was only like $40, and it was a delightful cruise. It was 2.5 hours, and you had the option to just relax, but you could also walk around freely. And for $20 extra, you could do like a jazz brunch. So they had like a live jazz band, which we heard the jazz band all over the ship because they had the microphones set up so you could hear them. But but they have in the restaurant a jazz brunch or even a jazz lunch and a jazz dinner that you could sit there and eat. I didn't do it because the food kind of reminded me of hospital food, and I was just like, I'm not going to pay 20 extra bucks for hospital food. But nevertheless, I hear the food is still decent, and so people really like it. And it's only 20 bucks more than the average price. So, but yeah, just an ordinary admission onto the boat was $40, and I was like, I don't know, I felt like that was worth it, you know. Christian says, Alex, I am from Mexico. I want to say great work. Thank you for the videos and Queen Mary updates. My pleasure, Christian. Thanks for watching. Five Caps says, to be honest, I don't like thinking about age. It makes me sad. Yeah. I know it makes some people pretty sad. Like I said, my sister gets pretty sad when she thinks about her age. For me, I don't get sad. I know, actually, it's kind of, my sister's kind of funny. I think like a couple weeks ago, she was talking about like some kind of plastic surgery she wanted to get done. And I'm like, you're only, you know, well, I don't want to say her age because it wouldn't be polite. But I was like, you're not that old. Like, you don't need plastic surgery, you know. But I don't know. I guess, see, my whole thing is like, for me, I'm going to age with grace. I'm just gonna let whatever ages age, you know. And but she doesn't want that to happen. She wants to maintain her youthful appearance, and I don't see what the point is. I'm like, eventually it's gonna catch up with you, and when it does, it's not gonna be pretty. So. Oh gosh. Yeah, my sister makes me laugh so much. So here's one of my favorite public rooms on the Titanic, which is the main lounge. I don't know why it took me so long to think of that. The main lounge. Five Caps Film says, Alex, make sure not to get scared when you see that painting. I know. Isn't that like on the aft staircase? Yeah, I think it is. I haven't gone there yet today. There's that painting. There's a painting on the top of the aft staircase that every time it's in the frame and I see it, it looks like there's someone standing there, and it's so creepy, you know. And then, but you get a closer look, and it's just the painting. It's just, there's just dark colors on the painting that just come together that it just looks like the silhouette of a person. So, but it always freaks me out. Daniel says, I also need to go to that brunch spot recommendation that you went to. I went to the Mardi Gras World when I went where they make and store the floats. Oh, I heard about that place. Yeah, the brunch place that me and my dad went to, and Chris too, it's called the Court of Two Sisters. And man, the food there is great. I mean, the brunch is spectacular, but and they do brunch every single day, which is really cool. That, you know, you don't have to worry, because, you know, like the Queen Mary, for instance, does it once a week. It does it only on Sunday mornings. But Court of Two Sisters, they do it every single day. So that's pretty cool. Where is that painting? It's not here. So it must have been at the forward staircase. I'll have to go all the way back. Yeah, and the Court of Two Sisters, besides brunch, they have lunch and dinner service, and those are super fancy. The brunch service was pretty darn fancy, but I waited for the brunch service to switch over to because they have their brunch service is split into two different time frames. So they do like a more breakfasty part of the brunch in the early morning, and then the late morning, all the way through lunchtime, they do a sort of more lunchy type of brunch service. And the lunchy brunch service is where they serve things like the rib roast, the one that I went there for. I was like, I gotta have this rib roast. So yeah, I do recommend waiting till after 11 a.m. to go there for the brunch, because that's when they serve the really expensive items. See, there's that painting. Now, when you get up close to it, it's just a tree on a hill, right? It doesn't look bad. But when I'm like looking over here and it's in the corner of the screen, and like my brain puts it together as like a person standing there, and I'm like, what is that? And I turn and I'm like, oh, it's just a painting. But it looks like, I think what it is like, sometimes my brain thinks that the tree is like the face of the person, or sometimes it thinks that the little gazebo is the face of the person. I don't know what it is, but it freaks me out. Here's some lifeboats. Why can't I get any closer? There we go. What was I saying? Someone asks, can you show the bridge? Sure. Oh, good. Okay, I am here. Sometimes I get lost. I wish they had like a little map on the corner of the screen, because I walk around the ship and I totally get lost. Here's the top of the elevators. So it's the elevator machinery. And then this way is goes to the bridge. We have to load into this area of the ship. So we're now on the other side of the door. So where is it? So there's the door I just went through. So now we're on the other side. And to get to the bridge, see, if I'm looking straight forward, you have to make a left. This is for people who are playing the game and want to know how to get to the bridge. Make a left. You can see the Marconi wireless room. It's all in there. But you continue down the hall. You make a right. And then you continue down the hall all the way to the very end, and that's when you get to the bridge. The only hospital that has great food is Boone Hospital in Columbia, Missouri. Interesting. 5Cap says, what do you think of mid-century architecture? I have certain interests in it, like Googie style architecture. I really like Googie style architecture. But if it's not Googie style stuff, I'm not that interested in it. And even Googie style interiors I think are interesting. But if it's not Googie style, then it's not that interesting to me. I don't know what it is. I guess Googie style is just very unique, and so yeah, I tend to really like it. But that's about it. I'm really more of an Art Deco person. To me, Art Deco is like timeless. It's just beautiful, but it's artistic but timeless. Whereas mid-century, I don't find it artistic, but it is timeless. So, I mean, like, not that it's not artistic. I guess like anything that it comes from the imagination is art, right? But it's not. It doesn't feature a lot of artwork mid-century. It's very sterile and very white. So it's just, it doesn't feature a lot of creativity, so to speak, except for Googie style, which I think is pretty interesting. Mark says, "Hey guys, lovely to see you all." Hello, Mark. Yeah, the lounge on the Titanic was totally split in half. Oh, SS Donatello is building a Minecraft RMS Queen Mary. There's a lot of people building those. There's got to be like 12 different completed Minecraft Queen Marys. Now, if you really want to impress me, build the Queen Mary and Planet Coaster. I'd like to see that. Maybe I should try. I don't know. I don't think I'd be very good at it. Building the Queen Mary and Planet Coaster. I don't know. I might. I don't know. Chris says, "I wish that I had a large amount of money to build a modern-day clone copy of RMS Britannic." Hello, Kat. How's it going? Five Cap says, "If you like Googie style, you would like the former Landmark Hotel in Las Vegas." I don't remember if I've seen that. I was stuck there. I was like, why am I not moving? Where should we go to next, folks? I've seen this whole ship already, so we should just go where you guys want to go. Oh, Sarah says, "I was just wondering if you can go into crew areas." Yeah, there's a lot of different crew areas that I can go into. If you have any specifically in mind, here's a cool little map. The dark pink is all the places I can walk around on every deck, including crew areas. So, yeah, if you have anything specifically in mind, I can go there. 97 Titanic movie got the bridge wrong with not including those two large cables inside wheelhouse. Two large cables inside the wheelhouse? What cables? So I was just in the wheelhouse, but I didn't see cables. Like, are you talking about on the wall here? I feel like they had that. I don't know. I don't see any other cables. Okay, let's go. Kat says there's an electric dance festival for two weekends on the Queen Mary. Don't know how I feel about it. You know, I kind of agree. It's kind of strange. But it doesn't hurt the ship, and it makes them money. So, you know, I'm okay with it as long as it doesn't, you know, doesn't do anything negative to the ship. But it is strange to see that kind of thing, and I don't know. There's times where I'm like, just let me let me take control of the ship, and I will steer things in the right direction, you know. But I'm sure like management would be like, in your dreams, buddy. They'd be like, you don't know what you're talking about. Honestly, I think a lot of people would feel like I don't know what I'm talking about, but I really do feel like if they put me in charge, I could steer that ship in the right direction, get tons of money flowing, all that kind of stuff. But then again, I will also admit that with a lot of different things, everybody thinks they can do a better job. You know, like, have you ever had a job where you're like, I'm really good at this, but then you feel like everybody around you thinks that they can do it better, and you're like, come on, you know, you can't, like, you can't do it better than me. But yeah, so, you know, that could be one of those situations. Joe B says, can you visit the second class areas? Oh, I was just there earlier at the beginning of the stream. I don't know. I already showed people those areas. I don't want to go back and do it again. Mark says engine room. Yeah, might as well. Okay, we'll go to the engine room next. Sheridan says captain's cabin. Unfortunately, that's not available on this game, so I can't go to the captain's cabin. Crew cabins, we can do that after visiting the engine room, because it's kind of on the way. Five Caps Film says, can you go to the first class smoking room? Oh shoot, I already left that area. Where am I? Oh yeah, C deck, okay. I keep thinking I must be aft on the ship, but I think I'm forward. See, I still get lost, honestly. I still get lost, but here we are. So let me just go through here. Dark Moon says, wasn't there a curtain or door separating first class stairwell from forward staterooms for first and second class? Oh, I don't know. I think a lot of people here probably know way more about Titanic than I do. Oh, this is one of those places. Somebody was asking about shear earlier. This is one of the few places, I'll show you, on the ship in this game that have shear. It's not very prominent if I get closer. Wow, you can't see it that well from this side of the hallway. All right, let me go to the other side of the hallway, because it's more visible from the other side of the hallway for some reason. Or the corridor, I should say. People will be like, Alex, it's called a corridor. All right. Yeah, it's much more pronounced on this side. That's so weird. Okay, so if you look carefully, you can see that there is an upwards curvature to this corridor. And so the whole ship would have had that curvature. That's called shear. It would have also had camber, which means that the center line of the ship is a bit higher than the sides of the ship. But yeah, so because including shear is very difficult to do on a video game, this is one of only 2 places on the whole ship that you can see shear. And so this might be actually the only place on the show. I forget. I keep thinking there's 2 places, but this might be only the only place in this game where you can see shear. But yeah, so let's go see. Oh, the engine room, right? Okay, we got to go this way. We're running along what's called Scotland Road, which is a service corridor that connects one end of the ship with the other. Ships often had that. Queen Mary's was called Burma Road. And this is the main engine room. Sorry, I keep getting stuck on railing. I'm trying to create like a nice little cinematic view of everything. But I keep getting stuck on railings and stuff. Okay. Yeah, Daniel says that I probably know the ship better than the passengers did. Yeah, probably, because I've played this game so much. I still get lost though, but I'm much better than I used to be. And hit the pins just the way that you need it, you know. But because the floor is, is curved, and it's curved not just in one way, but in 2 ways, it wouldn't work very well, because if you tried to go bowling in Scotland Road, what would happen is the ball would veer off to the side that slants downward, and then at some point before you hit the pins, the ball is going to want to roll backwards because it's going up an incline. So at some point, it wouldn't really work that well. And then if you were to put the pins in the middle of the ship and then roll the ball down towards them, well, then that's cheating, because the skill, bowling is a skill that requires you to use flat ground to see, how you hit the pins and stuff. So rolling the ball down the shear of the ship is cheating. So it wouldn't work very well at all. But like I said, with the camber, the ball would roll to the side, so you'd pretty much miss the pins almost every time. So it wouldn't work very well. 5Cap says, I looked at so many ocean liner photos and I can never see the camber. Yeah, it's really difficult to see camber on ocean liners because it's very, what's the word? It's not very pronounced, so not like sheer is. But if you go to a smaller ocean liner, like for instance, the one in Japan, what's that one called again? The The SS something. There's one in Japan. and the camber on that one is really pronounced, and you can see like the middle line of the ship is much higher than the sides of the ship. And even when I was on the Natchez, it was the same thing too. The camber was super pronounced, so as you walked on every deck, like you had to climb uphill just to get to the middle of the boat, and then you had to climb back down just to get to the other side. It was really weird looking. So usually camber is much more noticeable on smaller vessels, but the larger you go, the flatter it looks. So, Evan Scott says, boiler rooms on the Queen Mary ever going to open? I honestly don't know. They were supposed to be open by now. Like, they're supposed to be open a year ago, but I don't know. They never reopened. I don't really know what the holdup is, why they're not doing it. But, yeah, it is pretty unfortunate because, you know, people love to see the boiler rooms on Queen Mary. Sarah says, the ship I worked on, that long hallway was called Route 66. That's cool. I heard that on a lot of ships today, that like especially if they're American or British or something, that they're named after American roads or something, or American highways. I don't know if that's necessarily true, but Five Cats Film says, I wonder how comfortable the beds in the Queen Mary were in the 1940s. I mean, the only beds in the 1940s was in 1947 through 1949. So, I don't know. Now, the 1930s, those mattresses were horsehair mattresses. So, they would have been pretty stiff. Horsehair mattresses were pretty stiff. Yeah, I would definitely not think that they would be as comfortable as today's modern mattresses can be. But the ones in the 40s and 50s, those probably most certainly would have been some kind of inner spring mattress. And that would have been much more comfortable than horsehair. So, I don't know. I don't know much about the mattresses. All I know is that the original ones from the 30s were horsehair. And then after the ship came back from troop ship duty in World War II, the mattresses were more modern, which most likely would have meant inner spring, because that's what people were sleeping on. Oh, Aaron, thank you so much for the donation. Happy Thanksgiving, Alex. Oh, thank you so much. You know, last night, my sister and I, we attended a party with a bunch of our friends, like a little Thanksgiving. We called it a Friendsgiving. So I made turkey for the little party that we did, and then a bunch of people made stuff and brought it, and it was just so cool. We had a lot of fun. It was nice to talk to people, you know, like, and it's, what's really neat is, like, you know, with a few of these friends, you know, it's funny, I think I'm yawning so much because just before I started the live stream, I had lunch, And for lunch, I had leftover turkey, and I forgot that turkey makes you really sleepy. So I think like I'm yawning because I ate turkey before starting the live stream. What was I saying? Oh, yes. So a lot of these, or like some of the friends that we had there, you know, we grew up with them in California when we lived there, and you know, now they live in the same apartment complex we do here in Oregon, which is just so coincidental. But it was like really cool because, you know, we've all been friends, you know, since we were teenagers, and so we now we're, you know, all getting older, and you know, and some of us have had children, and you know, so it's like it's crazy. Well, right now we're in the this is the engineers mess hall of the Titanic, and you can see they have posted a picture of the newly, well, I don't know if he was what's the word for crowned, officially given the crown. I can't remember the word for it. But he did inherit the throne recently when Titanic had gone into service. I think he had been on the throne for a year or less. So this is King George V. And his wife... Yeah, I'm trying to. I'm like, did I get that right? Yeah, and his wife would have been Queen Mary, the person for whom the RMS Queen Mary is named after. Okay, so that was the forward engine room. If we go to the aft engine room, there's really nothing. There's not much to see because this is where they had the steam turbine, and we can't really see the steam turbine doing anything because it's wrapped in a metal encasing, so there's no moving parts down here, or at least none that we can see. So this room isn't visually that interesting when it comes to movement, but when it comes to machinery, there is plenty of it in here. And if you're wondering, right there is the steam turbine, but it's encased in metal, so, you know, you can't really see it. So back up we go. Oh yeah, during Dark Harbor you could see the Queen Mary's boiler rooms. No, I think appointed is you can appoint a politician, but you can't appoint a king. I forget. Coronation. That's the word I was looking for. Like, the coronation is when the monarch is crowned. So I don't know for sure, but I don't think he had his coronation yet when Queen Mary, or when the Titanic, I'm sorry, when the Titanic went in service. I might be wrong though, because I don't really know that much about when he had his coronation, but I don't think he had his coronation yet. Usually they wait like a year or so after the previous monarch dies before they host a coronation ceremony out of respect for the previous monarch. My back is hurting. Rapid Transit says, Alex, if I somehow go to Philadelphia to see the boat moving, do you want me to send video of it to you? No, that's not necessary. I won't be able to use it for anything because I don't make content about the SS United States, so and it wouldn't really do anything for me. And I might be watching it on television, so I don't really want television. I guess it would be YouTube, but so yeah, it's not necessary. I wouldn't really do anything with it. Here is a third class cabin for those that want to see. Sir Topham Hat. Pickled Pop-Tarts? That sounds strange. I've never even heard of pickled Pop-Tarts, let alone I'm surprised that they would serve anything like that on the Queen Mary. That sounds really strange. Oh, okay. So Kevin says his coronation was in June 1911. Wow, then that must have been very soon after his father died. Because didn't his father die in 1911? Or did he die in 1912? Or no, I'm sorry, 1910. I could have sworn his father died in 1911, but I might have got that wrong. All right. So somebody wanted to see crew areas. So let's go do that. We're going to run through Scotland Road because we got to get to the other side. Now, to get to the crew areas, I have to go through the boiler rooms of Titanic. And I always get confused which door leads to the boiler rooms. So I'm gonna... This is number 6 boiler room. I have to like steer around the camera because I can't see. The camera is literally in front of my screen, pointed at me. So I have to like look around the camera. All right. Let's descend into the fiery depths of the boiler room. See, you all thought I was going to say the fiery depths of hell, but instead I said the boiler room, which makes it funny. And who left all this coal here? Clean this up. Here's one of the furnaces. Now, here's a little bit of Queen Mary trivia for you. Because once again, I know I said this at the beginning of the live stream, I'm going to say it again. The reason why I'm not really talking much about the Titanic, the history of the Titanic, or how the Titanic works, is because I don't really know that much about the Titanic. I know as much about it as can be seen in the 1997 James Cameron movie, essentially. But I do know a lot about the Queen Mary. The Queen Mary is really more my speciality. I can tell you that Titanic and Queen Mary had very similar boilers. The forward boiler room number 1 on the Queen Mary had 3 double-ended Scotch boilers. These are Scotch boilers. These particular ones have 3 furnaces in them, and they use coal. These ones use coal to heat the furnaces and heat the exhaust tubes that go through it to boil the water, creating steam. Well, Queen Mary's boilers were slightly larger than these. They had 4 furnaces to heat the water. And instead of using coal, Queen Mary's used bunker C oil. And so the furnaces were had like a special atomizer that sprayed oil into the furnace and ignited it. And on Titanic, as you can see, there's exhaust and stuff, like smoke and gases coming out of these furnaces. That made this room very dangerous. As you can see, they had a supply of air coming into this room to make it so people could still breathe, at least, because otherwise these fumes and gases, they would have really, suffocated someone. But on Queen Mary, to prevent that from happening and to make the fire burn hotter, the Scotch boilers were supplied with pressurized air. So you can kind of see there's some plates here above the furnaces. These are the exhaust plates. So they're literally on the other side of these 3 compartments that are joined together up at the top is just smoke. But there would have been another layer in front of the boiler, and that on Queen Mary would have been for supplying air into the furnaces, and the air would have been slightly pressurized. Now, in the adjacent rooms on Queen Mary were Yarrow boilers, and instead of supplying those with pressurized air directly, they would just pressurize the whole room, so that way all the furnaces had air being supplied into them. It made the fire burn hotter, as well as prevented the room from backing up with smoke and soot. Now we climb up the ladders on Titanic to get to the crew areas. We are... I don't know what deck this is. But we can climb down to this level, which has cargo. And we can kind of walk around. So what I like about this level is you can kind of go through this this maze of cargo. Pretty cool. And when you get to the very end, there's a treasure chest. Nice. And then to get back, we have to go all the way back. All right, so crew areas. All right, so this is one of the crew areas. Is it labeled? No, it's not. Okay. So there are multiple rows of bunks or berths, because on a ship they're called berths, but people know these as bunks. Okay, so Edward VII was the one who passed in 1910, Victoria's son. Yeah. Okay, for some reason I thought he died in 1911. Okay, so he died in 1910, and yeah, so pretty much a year later, George V had his coronation. Though when his father died in 1910, obviously he still became the new king. But yeah, the coronation is the official ceremony of, of coronation. Chris says, it's too bad you can't visit the Titanic's main galley of the ship for both first and second class passengers. That's true, we can't. There are other galleys I can visit around the Titanic, but not that one. Rapid Transit says, not sure if you play Roblox, but there is a game called Dynamic Ship Simulator, the third, which just added the Lusitania. It is a realistic model to drive and everything. No, I don't really play Roblox. Five Caps Film says, Alex, I think in this area with the spiral staircase you can see shear, I think. Actually, yes, and even right here you can see the shear. Because as we get into this area, yeah. You can even see it in the bunks, too. The bunks are slanted. The berths are slanted. So, yeah, I remember earlier when I was saying that, I was like, I feel like there's two different places on the ship where you can see shear. I was right, because this is the other place. I just keep forgetting that. But, yeah, this is the other place on the ship where you can see shear. Now, my thing about these berths is, we see that they're slanted, right? But I wonder if really, in actuality on Titanic, if they would have been adjusted so that they were flat. And the reason why I ask is because, you know, imagine you're this guy and you're sleeping on this bunk, your head is right here, and the blood is flowing from your feet to your head. And whether you may or may not know, having a constant blood rush to your head actually can be deadly. So, I wonder, did they flatten these out, or did people literally have to deal with that, sleeping with the blood flowing to their head? So, this is also one of those areas that, you know, I don't know if you ever heard, but there are people who say, like, oh, well, the Titanic would have survived the iceberg had it crashed into it head on. And I can't say whether or not it would have, but if it did, this is one of those areas where dozens upon dozens of men would have been killed. This whole area would have crumpled and smashed into tiny little pieces, tiny little wrinkled pieces. So, yeah, a lot of people would have died if they did that. That's one of those things where, like, Murdoch, he knew the ship could probably survive if she hit the iceberg head on. But of course, he's not going to try, you know, he doesn't want to be responsible for the deaths of, you know, potentially like hundreds of men just because he's trying to avoid the iceberg, you know. And, you know, also have to remember that hitting an iceberg back then wasn't necessarily a death sentence, you know. Depending on how you hit the iceberg, the ship could still stay afloat, or maybe at worst they could evacuate people onto lifeboats and move them to another nearby ship. So in Murdoch's head, you know, the better solution seemed to try to avoid the iceberg as opposed to hitting it head on. And I agree. I think if I was in the same exact situation as him, I would have done the same exact thing. I would have tried to avoid the iceberg because it seemed like the chances of everything being okay would have been much greater had I tried to steer away from the berg as opposed to hitting it head on. You know, I don't know if I could have lived with myself if I realized I killed like 200 men by crumpling the bow of the ship. Wait, am I stuck on something? Yeah, I am. I was stuck on this thing. My head was literally hitting it and I couldn't get up here. Okay, that was weird. I I like this deck because there's an area here that is interesting. This is one of the garbage disposal units. It's missing a part, which is the lever, but you would dump rubbish bins using a British term here. Dump your rubbish bins into this thing, and then you would close the lid, and then you would pull a lever, and that would open a trap door inside of it and dump the garbage into the ocean. Now, you do have to remember that back then, the worst things in the garbage would have been glass or metal. There was really no plastics to be found in garbage, and there would have been a lot of paper and biodegradable stuff. So it wouldn't have been too bad. But today we definitely can't do that because of all the plastics that we have on ships and in everything. Like, there's plastics in everything. Here's one of the crew galleys. I really like this room because it's completely fitted out and you can see all this stuff. So here's all these spices and ingredients. There's even a little wedge of cheese. Or little, it's actually huge. But here is one of the coal-fired stoves. Titanic did have electric ranges, but electric ranges wouldn't be more prominent until about the time of the Queen Mary being in service, because even though the Queen Mary did have one or two coal-fired cooking apparatuses, the majority of Queen Mary's cooking apparatuses were all electric. Yeah. And what's interesting, a lot of people will say this, there's a lot of chefs out there who'll be like, oh, well, cooking with fire is much better than cooking with electricity. I am a culinary school trained chef, and I can tell you that's not necessarily true. For every cooking method you can think of, there is an alternative that could be done with electricity, and you pretty much would not be able to tell the difference. So I just think that's a little interesting tidbit. I'm not trying to like flex or anything like people might think I am. I just think I think it's interesting. I find it fascinating that's something we can do. And even back in the 1930s, that it was fascinating that we had that technology. This is where they store potatoes. Beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes. Now we are at the very, very bow of the Titanic, the very, what do you call it, the stem of the bow. And we're looking through the hole that is often mistaken for being a headlight on the Titanic. A lot of people see that hole on the bow stem and they go, oh, that must be like a headlight or something. It's not. This is a little port for the rope. Problem is, I often get stuck here. There we go. Cat says, I wonder what actually happened to Murdoch. Now that I don't know. I know that he didn't actually, what happened in the movie. He didn't actually do that in real life, but as to what happened to him, I personally don't know. All right, you guys. It's time to hop in the time machine and go back in time. Just kidding, that was the mast. So it simulated us climbing all the way up the mast to the crow's nest, where Frederick Fleet and I forget the name of the other gentleman. I'm really not that good with Titanic information. Sir Topham Hatt asks, if someone had the money to buy the Queen Mary and tried to, would Long Beach allow it? Yeah. I think if someone offered the right amount of money, I mean like a lot of money, if they said, oh, I'll give you $500 million, the city would be like, no, that's okay, thanks. You know, like that's nice, but no. But if the person offered like $2 billion or more, I think the city would be like, okay, yeah. You know, like, have fun, take it wherever you want. I think they would, yeah. If they offered like $2 billion or more or something like that. My back is hurting. But 500 million or less, I highly doubt. And then 500 to 1 billion, I doubt it, but it's possible. It'd definitely have to be more than $1 billion. And the city would be like, okay, yeah, you can take it. Do whatever you want. Sometimes I wish I was a billionaire. I would attempt to buy the Queen Mary for myself. and then I'd you know, run it the way I think it should be run. But we put our dreams away. Charles Oliver says, hi, Alex from a wet, cold Scotland. Hello, Charles from a wet and cold Oregon. By the way, Charles, I just realized that what I said kind of sounded weird. Oregon is a state in the U.S. Five Caps Films. No, I've never seen Caroline. Sir Topham Hatt says, how much is the Queen Mary worth? You know, I don't know the official number, but I would be very surprised if the Queen Mary was worth more than $50 million. That valuation sounds really low, and I agree, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the city would sell it for $51 million, you know, because there is something else to consider, which is the annual revenue that the ship generates, and also for the local area. The ship generates a tourism flow, believe it or not. The people who visit the Queen Mary are driving into LA County, right? I mean, you have to enter LA County if you want to see the Queen Mary. So those people, after going to the Queen Mary, will often go out to eat somewhere, or they'll go do something else, like watch a movie, or maybe visit, you know, Universal Studios or something. They'll do something either that day or that weekend or whatever, however long they're there. And that money is attributed to the Queen Mary. They say that, you know, the Queen Mary is what brought them there, and that's how people spend money in the county. They go other places and spend money. So Queen Mary accounts for approximately $205 million in annual affiliated revenue. I can't remember the exact words. But yeah, so essentially every year, $205 million is spent by people who originally go to visit the Queen Mary, but then might go in somewhere else in LA County and spend money. So, so even though the Queen Mary might be valued pretty low, the amount of money that she earns the city is actually pretty high. City of Long Beach and the County of LA, I'm sorry. All right. Sir Booms a Lot. It's a funny name. Sir Booms a Lot says, can confirm we went to eat not far from Queen Mary after we visited. Also visited Iowa on the same day since she's so close. Yep. There you go. You are officially a statistic. 5 Cap Film says, I often hear people wanting a pool on the Queen Mary, but there are so many beautiful beaches nearby. You know, that's what's really funny is, you know what it is because in this day and age, it's really difficult to own a hotel and not have a pool. You know, people expect a pool. But you are very much right. Just right across the harbor are these beautiful beaches, beautifully like pristine beaches. And so people will complain, they're like, oh, Queen Mary doesn't have a pool. But it's like, yeah, but the beach is right there, you know? I think that's why the Queen Mary hasn't built one yet. I mean, Disney tried to do it in the early 90s. They started prepping the poop deck of the ship, the very aft upper deck of the ship. They started prepping it to install a pool. But it turned out that after doing some surveys, they realized that the area just was not structurally strong enough to support a pool, which makes sense because, you know, the ship is designed for certain things and you can't just put a pool wherever you want. You know, the ship has to be able to support that kind of weight, and that area just wasn't capable of doing it. That particular area. So they just never installed a pool. And the Queen Mary used to have 2 indoor pools. There was the first class pool, which is still around today, but it is not in use. And then there was the second class pool, which was eventually removed and has become part of the museum. What do you call it? Exhibit space for the World War II exhibit on the Queen Mary. And yeah, so sorry, I'm trying to. What was I saying about? Yeah, so there is no pool on the Queen Mary. Some people really want the first class pool to be returned to use as a swimming pool, and originally I was against it. I think some people might remember that I used to be like, no. I'm not so against it anymore. I think like after really talking about it for a long time, I was like, okay, you know what? It does kind of make a little bit of sense. But I do not foresee it being a popular kind of like, okay, like they'd have to rebuild the tank of the pool, right? Because it's not designed for diving and jumping and all that kind of stuff. Because the pool would be really shallow and you would hit your head or something. So, oh, we're on the promenade deck. Cool. We can run around the promenade. So, what was I going to say? So, they'd have to rebuild the pool tank anyway to accommodate deeper water and allow people to do basic swimming things like diving or whatever, which isn't a big deal. But the thing is I don't see it being used that often because it's an indoor pool, and indoor pools for a long time were okay. People liked them. But now today, there's like this big thing where people just don't like indoor pools. So I don't foresee that ever being like a real popular place to go swimming. That being said, what I do think it'd be good for is, you know, that spas on modern ships, such as the Cunard fleet, they often have, as part of the spa treatment, they have a large relaxing pool. You could swim in it technically, but it's very shallow. It's designed so you could technically walk around in it standing up. But they have those things. And I'm like, you know what? There used to be a Turkish bath right there on our deck next to the pool room, the swimming pool room. And it used to be connected to the first class swimming pool room. So that way, after you had your Turkish bath treatment, you could go for a swim. And I feel like what they should do, because the Turkish bath area is not being used for anything except storage. So, like, why don't they reconstruct the Turkish baths, at least replicate them a little bit, but then turn it into a modern spa, you know, so it's got all the stuff that you would expect from a modern spa, and then use the adjacent first class swimming pool room as like the relaxing pool, the place where you go to just kind of float around. And that way you can keep the pool room just as historic looking as it used to, but the pool will be in use. And because people pay for spa treatments, that people would actually be paying for the pool restoration. So once they do the pool restoration, the money could come in to pay for that through the spa. So that's what I think they should do to it. I don't think it should be a swimming pool. I think it should be a relaxing pool for the spa. And maybe, you know, the upper area, the upper deck, they'll allow people to maybe walk in and take a look at the area, but they wouldn't be able to go down to the pool level unless they are part of the what do you call it? I don't know. The spa. Now there's some questions here. Well, let me just we'll look out over the bow while I answer some questions. Herman says, what country are you from? I am from the United States of America. Chris says, why not restore the original swimming pool of RMS Queen Mary to be back in use? Oh, we just talked about that. I had to think about that for a second. I was like, wait. I was like, I feel like we just talked about it. And I realized, oh, yeah, we did. Five Caps says, can you go to the first class smoking room? Sure. I'll do that right now. Sir Boomsalot says, is that the space the World War II exhibit takes up? I figured that was former forward engine room. It is. I mean, it's all part of the same area. So what they did was they, in that aft part of the ship, that lower aft section, they removed a lot of the watertight bulkheads that separated the compartments in order to turn them into massive rooms. So the World War II exhibit takes up part of the forward engine room, and then part of the, what was I going to say? Oh, I was just talking about it. What was it called? The swimming pool area. So it takes up part of the swimming pool area, that kind of thing. You know, it's all kind of, you know, it's all mixed up. But yeah. I'd have to like have deck plans right in front of me for me to point it out and be like, okay, this is how they did that. This is how they did that. And I can't really do that right now, but But yeah, so it's all kind of part of the same place. Where are we going? Oh, the smoking room. Right, okay. It's crazy. We can look into the reading and writing room from here. So crazy. All right, how do I get back? Pretty sure it's... no. Oh, wait, I am on the correct deck for this, so I think I just go through here. Somebody says it's not going to sync, is it? Are you talking about the Queen Mary, or are you talking about the Titanic game? Because honestly, that's a question that I've been asked for the Queen Mary, so I don't know if your question's directed at that or... Evan says, are you seeing the Queen Mary soon, Alex? No, absolutely not. Nope. I do not have the money to go to California to see the Queen Mary. I wish I did, though, because I got a lot of friends and family who haven't seen me in like 5 years. And I really, really miss them. What was I doing? Oh, yeah, smoking room. Sorry. So we were just in here. This is the smoking room. It's a bit laggy because there's a lot of detail in this room. The stained glass windows have images in them of, well, one of them is like a beach. It's hard to tell because it's very difficult to see, but the other one is like a waterfall. And they just kind of switch back and forth between the beach and the waterfall. Sconces on the walls. Pineapples to cover the light bulbs. Those are really cool. The crystal pineapples. Back in these times, the 1910s, the fruit, the pineapple, is considered a luxury fruit, and was considered a luxury fruit for even like a couple centuries before that. So you would notice that there's a lot of pineapple decorations everywhere. All over the ship in various spots. It looks like there's little pineapples, and that's why. It's because it's like a image that evokes luxury. Now today you can go to the local grocery store and get pineapple. Well, at least you can in the US. You can go to the local grocery store and get pineapples. People ignore them all the time. People don't want to cut through them and stuff like that. But if you can imagine, pineapple was so luxurious that you were seen as like, elite if you can afford a pineapple and eat a pineapple. So isn't that crazy how that's changed? Now today I see pineapples all the time at the grocery store, and I love pineapple, but I do not have the patience to cut through one. I'll do it, for if I'm like making like, like a bowl of fruit salad or something, and I'll cut through a pineapple, but it's not preferred. Now, what's really cool about this room, well, actually, there's a couple of things. So, first is this fireplace. It's the only actual coal-burning fireplace on all of Titanic. And it's to give it more of an authentic feel. I know, okay, so people say, they had this coal fireplace, so that way it would, the updraft of the heat would suck out the smoke from the room. Not necessarily, no. I mean, yes, that happens in a very small quantity, but in actuality, they have really powerful ventilation systems to prevent the room from filling with smoke. Like look at this, like this grate up here. It's not just decorative; it's a giant air grate for sucking out the smoke. So no, the fireplace was not put in to suck out the smoke. It was put in because it's authentic. It's nice. It's lovely. You can sit by the coal fire and and warm yourself. It feels nice. Queen Mary had one actual fireplace. There are many places on the Queen Mary that look like fireplaces, but they're all electric. But in the smoking room of Queen Mary, she had an actual fireplace, which I also think was coal as well. Kind of weird. In the U.S., I don't think many people would have had coal fireplaces. Most people have wood fireplaces. But coal was something that you burned in your fireplace, apparently. So, yeah. All right. Sorry, just checking to see if anybody asked me any questions. But the other thing I wanted to show you is that we can see the there's a little pantry that serviced this room. There we go. The lag is done. Ooh, a bit too. There we go. So this is a little pantry, or at least part of it. And, they would assemble some plates of snacks and tea and stuff like that. And then over here is more of the pantry. But this side of the pantry really served two different rooms. So we can actually see that there's two service windows here. One of them leads into the smoking room. So, all kinds of wine and pastries and tea and coffee and stuff could be served through here. But then it could also be served into the veranda, and the veranda was a popular place to have like a snack or tea or any of that kind of thing. So pretty cool. The pantry could have also served this room, the palm court, which yes is identical to the veranda on the other side, but they have two different names. The other one's the veranda, this one's the palm court. Okay, that's a like a hook or something. Okay, I saw that. I'm like, what is that? Is that a person hanging from something? It was just so creepy looking. I was like, what in the world is that? So yeah, so the palm court was mostly not used, but it could have been used as a daytime nursery for the first class children. So yeah, that is the smoking room and the palm court and the pantry. We'll go back out here. All right. Well, folks, I think I'm gonna end the live stream here. We've been on here. Oh wow, we have 44 people watching. We haven't had viewership like that in a while. There's still a lot more to see on this game that I haven't shown you today. But that's why we do these live streams every once in a while, so we can explore places that we just don't normally get to see. But yeah, I don't know. We could do a live stream next time about something else. What else do I do on this channel? I have a train simulator. Do I have a simulator or something else? Not ships, that's for sure. I don't know. But I feel really sleepy now. I need to get some coffee or something because I have a lot to do. Oh yeah, good night, Chris. So yeah, folks. Anyway, thank you all so much for joining me. Be sure to check out videos I've been posting recently. I've been posting my vlogs of my trip to New Orleans and all the cool historical stuff we've been seeing there, as well as a video tour of the Natchez Steamboat. You know, I think you guys will really love that. If you like steamships, you'll like the Natchez Steamboat. So I have a tour of that as well. You know, so yeah, check out content. I post stuff every week. So anyway, thank you guys so much, and I will see you all next time. I will say goodbye, but first I gotta like pull up this thing here.